Hi, my name is Kevin Oliveira. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager at Forcepoint. And today we're going to be demonstrating an overview of Forcepoint DSPM. It's a new product that we've launched recently. And I have joining me Todd Bursch, who is a global solution architect. And he will be taking you through the product and giving you a demonstration of it. First thing I wanted to bring up about the solution, as we look out at the market today and as we're talking to customers, it's very apparent that there's an AI transformation in progress. Much like what we talked about in the past around digital transformation, AI transformation is happening to a number of companies. A recent statistic said that 80% of companies are doing different things trying to implement GenAI in one method or another, either in their products or they're working with GenAI applications. And one of the things when our customers are using GenAI applications, one of their concerns is how do they keep their data secure? How do they keep it safe? And so we have a number of solutions, and today we'll be sharing that with DSPM, how we can help you to keep your data safe within GenAI. And some of the questions our customers ask are around these things. Who is using the sensitive data? They want to know about that as far as who is the person and be able to get to that level. What kinds of data are going into chats for different types of LLMs and LLM websites? And then where is that data coming from? Where is it going? They'd like to know that. How is the data being used? And then also why? And so we really want to know a lot about and get a lot of strong visibility into that. And with that visibility, then we're able to give control to the organization so they can control what kind of data is used in a GenAI application. And we seamlessly enforce that through our data security everywhere approach, which is where we look to be able to secure data everywhere that it resides and anywhere that our users are, your users would be working. One of the other aspects in terms of data security, we look at it in terms of these 5 different pillars: discover, classify, prioritize, protect, and monitor. We look to provide all of those capabilities to our customers. Over to the left, you can see Forcepoint Data Security Posture Management, or DSPM, and that covers this discover, classify, prioritize aspect. It's a proactive approach to data security, and then it complements over to the right where we have the protect and monitor pillars, which provide that real-time control or that active security. And that entails products like our Forcepoint DLP, our Security Service Edge, and then also Risk Adaptive Protection. Bringing all of this together, we're able to help organizations maintain that security. With respect to Forcepoint DSPM, this is our AI-powered data discovery and classification tool that we are bringing to the market. We brought to the market. It brings real-time risk reporting and it allows remediation and orchestration. Over to the left, you see a screen. This is one of the screens that are the dashboards that help you get visibility very quickly. And Todd will be sharing that. And over to the right, these are 5 of some of the key things that our DSPM solution is able to offer. The first, as far as fast, comprehensive discovery, it has very, very robust discovery capabilities. We can discover 300 files per second or up to about over a million per hour. And so we're able to do this across the cloud and on-prem in our scans. We have an AI mesh-enabled data classification. Often customers talk about AI-powered capabilities. Ours are AI-powered, but particularly we use a technology called AI mesh. And it's we'll have more information about that in the future, but it helps to create high accuracy and also with high efficiency. So you have that capability to get very, very strong, accurate classification for your data. The third area, real-time monitoring and risk assessment, is that it allows you then to be able to get to see and then to understand the risk of your data. And often people, they don't think of that as far as their data itself having some type of risk. But data can have a lot of risk and can introduce a lot of risk to an organization. If a data remains too long in the environment, it could be redundant, or it's outdated, or it could be quite a few duplicates. it creates a much larger posture or a much larger landscape of data that could have sensitive information. And in that way, it's easier for data breaches to happen and also for non-compliance. And so we want to understand what is the risk, and we're able to see that with this product. And last, workflow orchestration. And what we do there, and this is an important point, is that we want to make sure that we can bring in a broader group of the overall business. So it's not just directed to people who are directly in security. We do bring in with a solution in a workflow way. We're able to bring in like the chief data officer, who is typically responsible for data access governance of a number of things. We're able to bring in finance, marketing, other business units, DevOps, and be able to assign different types of, or designate responsibility for different types of data, and then be able to give incident alerts related to that. So we bring that in as well for a more robust capability in terms of remediation in particular. Next, we're going to go to Todd, and he's going to be sharing what we do have in DSPM.
Thanks, Kevin. So first of all, we're going to start off with the scan progress dashboard in Forcepoint's DSPM. So you'll see that across the top, we have a number of different sources that we're doing scanning. So right now, this is basically just kind of a high-level overview of the amount of data that we have scanned to date, over the past 3 hours, last day, last week. And then it breaks it down into different types of categories. So you'll see we have information coming in from different sources. So we have PI over here, sensitive file types on the right-hand side, and various types of charts that break it down by the classification levels, whether it's confidential, highly confidential, public, or business related. And the nice thing about these is that you have the ability to drill down into them, and you have full visibility into customizing them as well. So this is kind of the landing page that you would come to just to kind of get a nice overall view of what's going on. The enterprise search, this is where you have the ability to start to drill down into all of the specific data types and what we've classified. So there is a nice way of being able to go in and select your sources and drill down this way. Or we have a pretty powerful query language where I can actually go in here and just type in, let's do share. So I'm going to do externally shared link equals true, and let's go with classification.
This is great. It looks like it's able to help you with
equals
get to
confidential.
Yeah.
So what it did is it looked for everything that had externally shared links. So this could be on any of the sources, and we're looking for things that the large language model has identified as confidential. So you'll see a bunch of files in here. We have the classification. These are the recommendations. We have the ability from a remediation standpoint, like Kevin said, we can actually go in and apply classification labels to them, assuming that the source supports it. We have different types of detectors to look for subcategories and different types of information within the files. We have data attributes to also break down the different types of information. And then we have compliance tags that have a little rating on there based off of the confidence level associated with those particular files. Now, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, with this information you're able to see, does it, when you run the discovery scan, does it actually tag the file with this information?
Yep, excellent question. So on the initial scan, what's going to happen is it'll use those large language models to automatically apply what it thinks should be the proper classification levels, but it's only from a visibility standpoint. Now you have the ability to go in here and if you think that that particular source was something that is correct, you can manually verify the classification, or you can send it to the classification pipeline. This will actually kick off another process on the back end that will go out to this particular file in the share and actually apply a classification label. And then you notice that we also have the ability to do things like the view the access rights as far as what people have access to the particular file. We can even do things like revoke permissions. So we've got the permissions associated with that particular file, along with the trustees. You can actually just go in there and remove them. and apply those out. We also have a file audit log that talks through basically all of the different classification and scanning processes that have been kicked off by DSPM. So if we actually went in and tagged that, you would see that then as a secondary process down at the bottom. And then we have the ability to expand into specific details about the file. So you'll see this was on OneDrive. There is a UNC link to that particular file. And then you get details about all of the either information that was identified either via the large language models or the mesh models. And then we also have the permissions viewable from this interface as well. What's kind of interesting is that with this query language, you'll see that this gets reused over and over throughout the interface here. So you can use this to narrow down your searches initially and apply different types of actions to them. But you can also use this when we get into both the analytics dashboard as well as the orchestration and workflow. So as you tag individual files, you could either interface with them one-on-one, or you have the ability to go in and do things from a batch perspective as well. So Kevin, like you had mentioned, this is what the AI suggests as a classification level. Then we can go in and we can actually send it off to the pipeline where it would go out and get basically kick off another process to go and touch those files and actually apply either a cloud native tag for something like Microsoft or Google, or a persistent tag of our own based into the DSPM platform.
Okay, great. Well, I noticed too, you have that as far as the ML aspect, you have this ability to, if you don't agree with the classification, I would assume that would give you the ability then to train your model.
Correct. Yes. So you have the ability in here, we can go in, these are the ones that were defined for this particular use case. But yes, I have the ability to go in and say, yes, I think this was actually classified as something else, and that will get sent back into the model, and it'll use that information for subsequent scans.
Great.
One of the things that we're doing is not only are we doing scans of the data itself, but we also scan things like Active Directory for trustee and governance information as well. So this is where you have the ability to look for things like overprivileged users, users that are no longer with the organization, passwords that are really outdated, accounts that have the wrong type of access controls granted to them. And the nice thing is that when you're looking through these searches, while you're querying SharePoint and OneDrive and Azure AD all separately, from a query perspective, all of that information is merged together into this one view and interface.
That's great.
So I think next up we can go to the actually let's go to the data sources here. So let's take a look at the connectors. So from a deployment perspective, we have a large number of connectors available. We're coming out with new connectors every 2 or 3 weeks. They are included with the base platform license, so it's not, you don't have to pay by data source or even by the amount of data that you scan. We're grouping them together. So like in Microsoft, we support Azure AD, Azure Blob, Azure Files, OneDrive, SharePoint Online. We have Google, AWS, and we have a new one, ChatGPT, down at the bottom. So we can actually do scans of ChatGPT Enterprise, and I'll spend a couple of minutes specifically on that towards the end. But if we drill down into one of these specifically and just take a look, you'll see that we have the regular file scans. We have the ability to do also in here basically have a tagging workflow. So basically, if the the classification equals confidential, then we can have that be applied out as one of the actions automatically. So typically, you're going to set up your scans. You would do like an Active Directory or SharePoint.
Now, if it's confidential, and you said there would be an action that would be applied automatically, what kind of action would be applied?
So yeah, so the actions you do from that would be whatever the tagging was associated from the initial scan. So you were basically going to do the flow equals classification here, and when we were in the enterprise search there and had selected specific files for tagging, basically once you kick that off, it's going to go back to that connector and see what that tagging rule was to actually go back and apply it to them.
Okay,
good question.
That's great. So you have a lot of cloud options, and then you have these on-prem options that look like.
That is an excellent point. So we have obviously the ability to connect to cloud services via API, and we also support traditional on-prem, like SharePoint on-prem, as well as traditional on-prem network file storage. And yeah, we can right out of the box do all of the traditional enterprise data center scans, and then connect into the cloud services as well, and then give you that nice consolidated view across all of them.
That's great. For the number of files you have that you scanned for this, how much time would it take?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So it kind of varies by source. Obviously, with cloud, you have latency and things to take into consideration. But given deployment of low latency connections between them, we should be able to scan upwards of a million files per hour. Given all of the environmental issues or environmental settings would allow for it. So in addition to the machine learning and large language models, we also have the ability to add in additional content detectors. So these give you the ability to do customization. So here we have resumes versus insurance versus performance and budget. So you can break everything down into subcategories. You can also create custom detectors based off paths and the file attributes as well. And those would all then be used to calculate both the risk levels as well as the classification that would be associated with that.
Now, these content detectors or these attribute detectors, would they be tagged during the classification process to the file?
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, when we were looking at the enterprise search, these will show up then under the detectors here, assuming that there was specific matches for them. So I could go out of the advanced search here, and then you could basically scroll down based off of whatever primary category. Let's say you want to look for HR documents, and the subcategory is you want to look for
a resume or something.
Yep, exactly. So
okay,
should have proposal. See if we got anything that matches that. And there we come up with some resumes. So yeah, so we do HR documents, subcategory resumes, and then you can narrow that down even more based off of the risk or specific sources, whether it's coming in via, API from SharePoint or S3 buckets or even on-prem as well. So you have all of that. Once you have these kind of narrowed down, then obviously, like I said, you can either act on them individually or go ahead and tag the entire search for some sort of an action on it. So this is the interactive mode versus the orchestration, where it's basically automated instead.
Okay. How does the orchestration work? Are you getting to that?
Yep. So we're jumping over to the compliance hub now. So basically, what you do is you select the countries where you do business. Yeah, like the Cayman Islands, like to do all my banking there. So I'll add them in, and this helps from a data residency perspective. You also select the different type of industry that you work with, what type of compliance standards you might have applied to, whether it's CMMC or maybe EAR, ITAR, GDPR, HIPAA, PCI. All of these are individual mesh models. So we have highly specific custom-built mesh models for each one of the regulatory compliance. So it's very small, very lightweight, very fast, and it's looking specifically for this type of data based off of whatever type of organization and regulatory compliance would typically be applied to your type of business. You have the ability to go in here and create customized classification policies. Also the taxonomy, this is where you reorder and enter in your specific tagging. Let's jump into the data registry. So this is where we actually get into the data ownership. So you
Mhm.
have all of those different types of subcategories. You can assign them out to specific departments and specific owners. And the nice thing is that from a flow perspective, those can be used either in individual rules or from a notification standpoint as well.
Now, how do you assign the notification? How does that work?
Yep. So that's where you're teeing right up to the orchestration piece. So these obviously can all be customized. These are just some ones that we use from a demo perspective. So in this particular one, we're looking at trade secret exposure. You can select the different specific data source and then the condition. So this is that same query language that we're using in the enterprise search. Basically, I'm looking at detector hits equals trade secret and the risk level equals 2. And
Mhm.
it's going to spit out a little bar graph of that. But what I can do is anything that's enabled here, that means that that workflow will come into play when we find those matching conditions in subsequent searches. Right now, the actions that we can do are notifications via webhook and Slack. I haven't configured email. We can send email as well. And then a future release is going to have the ability to do file move and delete remediation as well. And what's interesting about the file move and delete is you can actually move files from one data source to another. So you have a lot of flexibility regarding the different types of actions that you can apply on those workflows.
And that movement, that would be really relevant as far as you're trying to move between clouds, or you're trying to move between locations, or what would you be wanting to do?
Yeah, excellent question. So oftentimes you're going to move things that may be publicly exposed into an internal repository so you can have it for additional review, scrutiny, things like that. Now, obviously, the easy button would just be to apply the classification levels and then have controls in place regarding how that data moves internally, externally through that, whatever that cloud service or site or storage device is. But yes, in addition, you have lots of flexibility to also go in and potentially tombstone or delete or move those files elsewhere for additional scrutiny, or just move it out of the way so it's no longer at risk. And once we get into the dashboards, there are things like, blast radius for malware and, encryption attacks, things like that, to kind of show you this is the type of data that you have sitting, that if you were hit with some sort of a ransomware attack, that would most likely be susceptible, that you might want to lock down or move elsewhere. And then we have
With this,
incidents. Go ahead.
yeah, just I wondering with this, so that you've run your discovery, you've done the scans, and you've had the classification happen, and then you're able to see the kind of a summary of the incidents that came out of that scan, and these are some of the kind of risky aspects.
Yeah, correct. These are basically the summaries of the matches that would potentially apply, depending on what you have for the actions associated with those orchestration rules.
Can you drill down within those? So if I want to see those trade secret exposure ones, for
Yeah, so
example.
it's going to jump to this, and then you have the ability to go in there and basically query this information back into the enterprise view.
Oh, okay. And then you'll be able to see the list of files.
Yes.
It's great.
All right. I think next up we can jump into the actual analytics. So this is a fully customized dashboard, and the interesting thing is if we actually go in and edit one of these here, you will see that all of the elements, whether graphical or statistical, we are just leveraging that same query language that has been used throughout. So this is the query language that you use in the enterprise search, as well as the orchestration workflow. It's the same one that you would utilize to generate the different types of dashboard reports as well.
And each of those are a widget then that you're able to manipulate and then create as part of the report.
Yep, absolutely correct. So yeah, I mean, you can change the format of it, the structure, the source. You can add in different types of information around it as well. So
Right.
we go to the widget. Obviously, you've got different size, colors, what type, line by bar, area, pie, things like that.
It seemed pretty strong. Yeah, I just think as far as reporting, if you want to report for something very specific, you've got a lot of tools to create that report, and you don't have to code, you don't have to do anything. You've got a lot of these using that
Yep.
SQL language.
Yeah, and one of the nice things is that these are all importable and exportable JSONs. So it's almost in a human readable format, and then you have the ability to export via PDF or export to JSON.
Okay. So for the PDF, how would you use that typically, would you think, if you exported it to PDF?
Export or PDF usually would be reports that I would bubble up to C-levels, executives, managers, things like that, depending on whichever dashboard was most relevant to their specific roles and responsibilities.
That's great. So you don't have to get into it. You don't have to show them the interface. You can just give them a report.
Correct.
It's great.
Yeah, they usually the pie charts and graphs tend to resonate more than just spitting out some raw tables down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So looking through some of the pre-built dashboards that we have in here. So this one is generative AI oversight. So we do have a connector for ChatGPT. I'll drill down into that one in a second, but looking at some of the other ones, this was the GenAI readiness. So kind of like the ransomware blast radius, this is where you would point at different directories or file shares or things like that that you would most likely ingest into large language models. And this is going to give you visibility into that data before ingest. So this is kind of telling you, hey, you've got trade secrets and confidential business that once it gets uploaded into those LLMs, it's much more difficult to claw that data back out. So this is kind of a nice preparatory step to make sure that the data you're feeding into them doesn't include any sensitive information you don't want actually showing up there. And this complements Forcepoint's Enterprise DLP as well, because typically the endpoint is the easiest method to prevent end user uploading data, either copy paste or file upload. This is the best way to do it from a bulk kind of enterprise perspective.
Yeah, and this applies across all GenAI sites. It's not just ChatGPT Enterprise or.
So yes, exactly. So this is basically giving you a state of the union of your existing data before it gets uploaded into Claude, Gemini, any of the traditional LLMs that are in use.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So in addition to just looking at the data, we also manage risks by users as well. Now this is a lab environment, so we're not going to get very compelling charts out of this, but it does go through a lot of information regarding the activity and riskiness of individual users. Mm-hmm. One of the other things that Forcepoint does as a free service to customers is we can actually do a data risk assessment. So leveraging this dashboard and several others, we can scan a subset of your data, typically like a SharePoint in your Azure AD, and we can basically create a nice compiled output, actual document that you can use internally to kind of show some of the concerns, exposures, risk areas, regarding the data that we use in the scan.
This is a free service to just anybody, or this is specifically someone who's purchased the product? This
is available to potentially anybody. Correct.
Okay. So interested in buying Forcepoint DSPM, they want to get a taste of how it works, we'll provide this to them for free.
Yep, absolutely correct. So yeah, I mean, we can deploy a server, point it to a couple of scans. This can be done cloud managed or hosted as well. And then, like I said, we will basically provide detailed information back and then compile that into a document kind of takeaway. And typically these should only need less than a week from start to finish to, as far as when the process started and when we provide the documentation back to for review.
Is that typical too? You have 27,000 files. So is that like kind of a typical, you'd point to a sample of?
It all depends. Typically, we're looking in the 50 to 100 gigabytes range, but I mean, obviously, each case is going to be unique. I mean, this platform can scale into the terabytes and petabytes realm when properly sized. So we can definitely do that, but I wouldn't recommend it for a 2-day data risk assessment engagement.
Right. You'd aim it at a particular location. You do it for a 2-day engagement, like you meant. For the discovery, and then just get a look at it. as far as what is the risk of their data across
Exactly.
all those things.
Yep.
That'd
Yeah.
be
So
great.
here's like the ransomware exposure one. So here's where it talks about the different types of data you have broken out by categories, and it shows the risk level associated with that based off of the scoring mechanisms used both between the existing detectors, the large language models, and those the mesh models as well. So it's a nice way to kind of show you even by geo where that data resides and things you may want to take into consideration regarding potential remediation either via the DSPM or through some sort of external workflow as well.
It's great. It's great you're able to see by geo. You can get that view.
Another pretty useful aspect of this is the redundant, outdated, and trivial reporting. So in this particular case, we're looking at files not modified in 5 years or 3 years. So a lot of this is, especially if you're looking at cloud storage, a lot of this is obviously taking up space either from an OpEx perspective, or I mean, just having that data sit there, that shadow data opens you up to potential risks because it's basically unmanaged, unknown data that's been sitting in your network. That if there was some sort of exploit or ransomware or even some sort of legal exploration, some sort of legal request on the data, it's nice to kind of figure out what actually needs to be there versus what you can remove and not have to be concerned about. And
Right.
then go ahead.
This would get into like often people talk about dark data or shadow data, which usually is a huge percentage of organizations' data that's just not regularly being used, and
Correct.
it's often filled with sensitive information. And so it's if it's not being used, it also is potentially not detected, with data loss. So it's
Yeah.
it really can be a big threat. I think one of the things they'll often talk about is like it's so many organizations they believe if they keep data for a long period of time, they'll stay in compliance. Whereas actually it's the opposite.
Correct.
It's you
Yep.
you keep it for too long, you actually will be likely out of compliance. So it's
Yeah. That's an excellent point. And that dovetails into the unprotected data, which is the data that's been out there that you know either from a shared perspective or ownership perspective that is something that needs to be kind of brought into the fold or done something with regarding some sort of remediation or mitigation to it. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of pre-built, and like I said, there's full customization regarding all of these dashboards that you can fine tune to your specific workflow. And then the nice thing is that since this does get the trustee data associated with it as well, you can assign ownership and flows to make sure that you have buy-in from across the board, for the different types of data, and make sure that everyone is aware of any potential risk within their specific group within the organization.
That's great. I see the one report, high risk users. Did you get to that one? We ever get
So
a look at
the high risk users, this one is somewhat interesting. Like I said, this is all sample data, so it's from a user and group perspective, it's a little bit harder to specify. But yeah, what it's going to do is it's going to show specific users based off of the data that they upload, whether or not it is either confidential data. Here we're doing it by the different sources, and it seems like SharePoint and ChatGPT seem to have the bulk of the data that probably shouldn't be there.
that?
Yeah. And then the different types of users by assets, and then kind of a breakdown by users here of highly confidential versus high risk versus sensitivity, and you'll see that the bulk here of the offender is the unfortunate James Smith user, but we do have some other users who are doing things they probably should not be as well.
Well, it seems like there's another opportunity for remediation that prioritizes it, so you know who to go after,
Yeah,
who to work with.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and most of the objects within these dashboards, you have the full availability to drill down into,
Mhm.
and you can export those off to CSV or JSON as well to work with them downstream if needed.
It's great.
So what I think is unique, at least at the time that we're recording this, is that Forcepoint's DSPM has the ability to go in and do scans of ChatGPT Enterprise. So we have a new data source down towards the bottom there called ChatGPT. And using an API connection, we have the ability to do both trustee scans regarding the users and administrators within it, as well as data scans. And if I click on the edit here, you'll see that we actually have the ability to set the geographic regions as well as the data owner. You can specify different paths within the ChatGPT as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
ChatGPT Enterprise, right? ChatGPT
Enterprise, yes,
right.
correct. So I'm going to back at the enterprise search here, and I'm narrowing it down to ChatGPT. You'll see that we have documents here that have been uploaded that have been flagged as confidential. They're also matching on different types of compliance standards as well. I'm actually going to go in and search for myself here. So users. So this is data that I've actually been querying in ChatGPT. So you'll see this is actually some credit card data that was matched as confidential. I've also got some. I've been using ChatGPT to create sample data for DLP testing. So in this particular one, we have ABI routing information, social security numbers, credit card numbers, with a basically 100% match on PII. So you'll see that we have both files that have been uploaded, as well as these are actually data and information within general chat sessions. So we have the ability right now to report on all of that. We can do things like send this to the classification pipeline for training. We can view the access rights of it. And then we also have that ability to view the audit log regarding the different types of classification engines and scanning engines that were applied to it. So as far as I know, this is the only platform currently available that has the ability to go in and do direct scans of enterprise ChatGPT on the back end.
It's great.
And we look at the actual dashboard here. So this, I've had this up previously, but this is basically a kind of a graphical representation of what we're showing in the enterprise search. We've got, the active users. I can drill down into the different administrators, and then it breaks it down.
This is different than what before you were showing the preventative aspect of just LLMs in general. This is specifically what post usage of.
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
Right.
So we have the GenAI readiness, which you would want to run before you do any sort of a bulk ingest into LLMs. And this is basically the after. So this was the before snapshot. Hopefully the after one shouldn't have anything in here, because you cleaned it all up through remediation with the AI readiness. But this is the data that we found within this particular ChatGPT Enterprise instance that matched whatever compliance in this particular one. We're looking at we've got some social security numbers, credit card information, banking information as well. So this, as far as I know, is the only tool available that's going to give you that sort of visibility into what data is currently sitting in your enterprise GPTs.
Okay. Now, is there any way then to remediate once you've seen all of this? You're able to see what happened?
So currently, the ability to do remediation, whether it's applying tags or moving or deleting files, is based upon the API itself, whether the API supports it. So yeah, our developers are working right now with ChatGPT on the back end and have a working model of the ability to actually go out and remediate and remove content from an existing ChatGPT. So where we had shown on the enterprise search the ability to go in and drill down into those specific files that we had scanned within ChatGPT, assuming the API works as expected, in the future, we'd be able to go in and actually remove that content from the enterprise GPT. So it would be no longer available
Would be
for
out of the
subsequent searches.
be out of their history in the enterprise. Okay.
Yep.
What are you able to see about these? Like if you click into one of the files, what
So this would just be a UNC. So one thing to note is that we're only collecting basically, metadata about the specific files itself. Now, if this was a SharePoint or an SMB, and assuming I am logged on as the proper user, I can actually click on this and see the source code. But regarding Forcepoint DSPM, the information that we're collecting is just the metadata. So we are not actually storing any of the content, any of these files. We're doing the scanning. We're calculating all of the different types of categorization associated with it, and then providing you with the ability to go in and look at the specific details, including the path to where that file lives. But this is pretty much the extent of what we would collect on a specific file. So basically the file details tied in with the permissions that we would get from, in this particular case, it would be the Azure AD scan.
can you see the user that did this?
So we have, yeah, so you have the, down here, you have the created date, time, last set. You also have departments data owners, last access. These are going to vary based off of the source. So right now, these are and unfortunately, because this is a lab environment, we don't have the actual usernames, but this would be this was the original creator of that.
Right. So you would be able to drill down. This user did this at this time.
Correct.
And really strong visibility in what's going on with ChatGPT Enterprise.
Yep. And I can actually drill down into that specific user, assuming that there was associated data to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so pretty much everything in here is going to be drill downable, or be able to click through to get more information about any of the specific files or actions.
Great.
So yeah, I think this is a really good high level overview of the DSPM interface. We've kind of scratched the surface. There's a lot more potential drill down in regarding features and capabilities that we could do beyond this, but hopefully this was enough to get everyone interested in and talk to us about potentially doing a data risk assessment, or even doing a live demo kind of tailored towards whatever the specific use case is.
Great. Well, thanks, Todd. I thought it was a very interesting demo on DSPM and what we're able to offer. And if you're watching this video, for more information, please go to forcepoint.com/DSPM, and you'll be able to find more information on what this solution is, as well as to be able to request either an expert to be able to take you through it and do the live demo like Todd was discussing, and how it works for your environment, as well as you can request a free data risk assessment, or a DRA, and you can do that also from that same site. And we'll be happy to share that with you as well. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.